Thank you. Mr. Straw, in your memorandum, you say, I had never wanted war, but the strategy we had adopted to secure Iraq's disarmament was diplomacy backed by the threat of force. Yesterday, when we were talking to Sir David Oman, he said, and let me quote, he said, "What strikes me is that greater care is needed in threatening the use of military force to back up diplomatic measures. It is quite an easy thing to say that a tyrant X will not move unless there is threat of force behind them. I'm sure it is correct, but military deployments generate a huge momentum of their own, and they're subject to their own railway timetables." And he went on, said that's what it turned out to be the position, because we were forced to look for and get the inspectors to look for the smoking gun in double quick time before the window for invasion closed, and the window was conditioned by the American political timetable. Would you agree with him now?
Not completely. I mean, I agree with David Amy's overall view. You've got to be careful about setting on a strategy of diplomacy backed by the use of force. But I mean, my judgment was that this was an appropriate strategy. And in the debate on the 24th of September 2002, which I quote in this memorandum, I in turn quoted Kofi Annan, where he says that diplomacy often has to be backed by the threat, if necessary, the use of force, and that's just true. And you know, when we weren't, this was hard diplomacy, so-called. I mean, the soft diplomacy, or even medium-hard diplomacy with sanctions, plainly wasn't working. I mean, I know someone raises a question about whether containment would or wouldn't have worked, but it certainly hadn't worked, in a sense. And on the issue of time, let me just see if I can turn it up. It was Dr. Blix who said, yeah, this is 14th of Feb, last paragraph. Oh, well, there he said if they had provided the necessary cooperation, the period of inspection could. Oh, he said, and he said that's right. It's quite a complicated sentence. Today, 3 months after the adoption of Resolution 1441, the period of disarmament through inspection could still be short. His words, not mine. If immediate, active, and unconditional cooperation with UNMIVIC and the IAEA were to be forthcoming. Now, he would have written that at the early February. We didn't actually take military action until the 20th of March. It was Dr. Blix who was saying, using the adjective
but that's
short.
the view, that's Dr. Blix's view. But I'm really asking that, as you were giving us some reflections, reflecting back, and what Sir David Oman said, greater care has to be taken in threatening military force. Are there inherent risks in that? That's the point.
Well,
I'm asking your view as of today.
Baroness Prussia, I think we did take great care, is the answer. I have very great respect for David Oman. I say that in the best sense of the word, not the way it's sometimes used. He's a friend of mine. He was my permanent secretary for 4 years. I think we did take care, and the whole purpose of 1441 was an illustration of the care that we took. I mean, had we just bulldozed our way through, or tried to, it would have been illegal, would have blown up in our face, etc. But just said, oh, 678, 687 authority, we don't need Parliament support, we'll just do it. Yeah, for certain. But we didn't. And I'm sorry to come back to this issue, but we got 1441 through. The inspectors went in pretty quickly after that, after UNMIVIC already existed. They started work. 3 months later, there were Blix, instead of saying what I hoped he'd say, which was compliance, was still saying no compliance. And still later, 4 months after that, he was still saying, effectively, no compliance. And the issue was, how long did you go on? And my worry about this was that if we didn't get a second resolution and didn't pursue the matter, that the whole effort would be diminished and degraded, and we'd be back in a worse position with Saddam than we thought. And bear in mind, behind all of this was our profound belief that Saddam had and was going to use weapons of mass destruction. And I may say, Sir John, so profound that in the Foreign Office, we acquired for our staff protective clothing for them, including protective gas masks, which I actually had in my office and inspected myself. I mean, the sense, and it was true right across the system, including in DFID, that he had this material and was going to use it, was very powerful indeed. It was not made up. And in those circumstances, my own view was faced with a choice between presenting Saddam with an ultimatum, as we had to, the UK and US, or just allowing extra time without any sense of a deadline would have actually taken us back to a worse position. And even though in the event no WMD was found, if that had been the consequence, we would not have known that. And Saddam, as I said right at the end of my memorandum, would have ended up with a greater sense of power and influence in the region than even he had before.
Anyway, time's running on. I think we'll come back to you next.